Hi, this is Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about narrating less and talking more through our non-player characters and using sound effects more. And basically, what I want to talk about today is our story delivery method as dungeon masters and how and a new option for changing it. And this is an abstraction to an action. We haven't done the assertion part, so I'll explain what all that means. All right, so I'm a dungeon master. I'm a dungeon master. That has transformed my life. It has changed every single thing I do, right? So when I listen to the news, I'm not really listening to the news to see what's happening in the world, right? I'm listening to the news to make sure that I understand our world so that I can realistically model my Dungeons and Dragons world, right? I no longer just read a book to entertain myself, right? I'm reading a book to say, okay, I see what this author is doing in this book. What are the narratively powerful aspects of this book that I can bring to the stronger narrative engine, which is my dungeon mastering, right? So what are how does this author deal with presenting characters? How do they vary the voice of the characters they use in the novel? How do they craft a mystery? Those kind of things, right? And by just interacting with the world specifically to make our dungeon mastering better, it takes us to that next tier of dungeon mastering. So one of the things, I had a good friend, and he knows, I consume different story delivery methods external to Dungeons and Dragons to make my dungeon mastering better. And so he said, "Hey, I got this new podcast I've been listening to. It's absolutely fantastic, and you should listen to it," right? So it was called Batman Unburied, and it was the first one of these types of stories I'm about to tell you about. These are full cast, immersive sound story podcasts. It's an entire genre. I didn't really realize it was there. Batman Unburied is a fantastic place to start. It's really, really good. But I'm going to give you a few. So I'll give you all the best ones I've listened to so far. Batman Unburied, Maxine Miles. That's a teen adventure story. Batman Unburied is a story about Batman. There's Last Position Unknown, fantastic underwater adventure. Really, really good story. And Bloodthirsty Hearts, absolutely fantastic. It's a story about adventure that happens at a convention, at a fan convention, at a supernatural fan convention. Every single one of these are absolutely fantastic. I really think you're going to enjoy them. And I've been listening to them, and what really surprised me is they kind of shocked me in how much they were replacing other listening sources that I normally listen to. I listen to a lot of D&D commentary. That's been going down, replaced by these other stories, right? I listen to full novels read out, right, on Audible. I have an Audible subscription. And I realized my credits were piling up because I'm listening to all these free. Every single one I just talked to you about is free, and they're all on Spotify, and you do not need, I think you can get the free account, right? And you can listen to all of them. They're all fantastic. They won't cost you a penny, and they've replaced a lot of listening for me. And I was like, why are these so compelling for me? Why am I getting into these so much? Why am I really enjoying these and taking notes and adding in flourishes that these podcast build creators are doing? Why am I adding this to my dungeon mastering each week? And I can tell you why. They have a distinct story delivery method, which I didn't realize until I listened carefully and realized what they were doing. So in these, there's no narrator. Every single piece of information that I receive as the viewer, that I receive as the experiencer, right, of the art, is told to me by a speaking character in the story, or is told to me by a sound effect, right? So in Last Position, that one's about a submarine, right? People will say, "Oh my goodness, I see on the radar that there's a monster ahead," right? That's not a spoiler. And so you get this information from a speaking character, and then in the podcast they'll go clunk, 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 and that and I know that the monster has wrapped its tentacles around the sub, right? So it's just sound effects, and it's just the characters. What does this mean for us, right? Well, it might mean that Describe is worthless. Describe is a site that just does narrative prose, right? And so one of the things I'm thinking about, and I think I'm starting to shift to this, is stop narrating your world, right? Talk through your non-player characters more, right? The prosperous innkeeper, the woodcutter that they come across on the road, right? The villager that's been burned by that is speaking with her last breaths because she's been burned by the red dragon, right? This, I think this is really quite interesting, right? In that, the other thing is the actions of non-player characters. No, sorry. Just the words of the non-player characters are what are important. And so you should, as much as possible, think about shifting into, you tell about the world by the audible reactions of the non-player characters. And in addition to that, do sound effects. Like when there's a fireball, give that sound effect, right? And the reality is, the reason why I think doing this is I'm not positive this will make your game better, but I know for a fact that these 8 to 10 episode character audible driven stories and sound effects driven stories are much more compelling to me than these books where the author just says, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, right? So basically, I think there's just something interesting in making the vector for the story the non-player character's words. You showing the world through the non-player character's spoken reactions and through sound effects. This is going to be difficult, and it's not going to be easy, but I know for a fact these immersive sound story podcasts are really capturing me. They're engaging me. That's what we're trying to do in Dungeons & Dragons. We're trying to engage everybody at our table, right? So that we know they're interested because they're asking questions, they're showing up, they're doing interesting things with their characters, they're taking unexpected actions, and they're growing as people beyond the table. We want engagement. Check these out. I cannot recommend highly enough Batman Unburied. Monster Hearts is fantastic. Maxine Miles is really good, and Last Known Position, all fantastic. I want to say a big thank you to to my friend who got me onto Batman Unburied. I'm getting dividends from that even now. Check these out; they're really fantastic. And in your Dungeons & Dragons game, think about narrating less and putting more words into the mouths of your non-player characters, starting with sound effects. Boom! All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.